This week, three sides of the coin. Mark has a grabber live on the air.
Three sides Deadpool.
Three sides Deadpool coming your way. When's Mark biting it and how? It seems like people are worried. This week, three sides of the coin. Killer special guest. Mark Slaughter sits down with us, talks. Vinnie Vincent talks about how the band was really formed, who really got them the record deal, what Vinnie's first comments were to Mark when he heard Mark sing. Quite an eye-opening episode. Let the play button roll. And then at the very end, you can throw in the death pool for Mark. Cicchini, not Slaughter. Everybody, welcome to Three Sides of the Coin. I am one of your three co-hosts, Michael Brandvold. And as always, I'm joined by Tommy Summers and Mark Cicchini.
Woo-hoo!
How are you guys doing this week?
Good.
Well.
Both of our cocky teams are in the playoffs.
That's right.
Did you say cocky teams?
No, but I'm sure you heard it that way.
Where is your mind?
That's my point. Where's yours?
There's a couple things we want to talk about real quick before we get into our special guest this week. A real quick mention, so no housekeeping. We just posted the new show with Tim Sullivan, all about Detroit Rock City. Phenomenal response to this show. People are loving it. They love Tim. They love the Ace Frehley impersonations. They love the stories. Tim's definitely going to be back. We've got a couple different topics, I think, that we want to pursue with Tim. But the guy's a huge KISS fan, just tons of stories. And
he's in my top 5 favorite guests. That guy was phenomenal.
Yeah,
what a great guy.
And just remember, he was doing that while driving on the freeway in Hollywood. So,
you could just hear how excited he was talking about it. And that's how come I just like when I'm like, okay, I don't want to miss a thing, just like.
Yeah.
Awesome.
His passion for Detroit Rock City is a number one. I mean, having worked through all of that with him back then, I can just tell you. I mean, he was just a kid in the candy store, being able to do a movie like that and be that close to the band, the original band too. So, give it a listen. You're gonna love it. That's episode 122, I think, that we just posted with Tim. Do you have any comments you want to share this week?
Yeah, there's so many great ones, and it's all about Tim and his guest appearance. I'll just read one of them to kind of give you a flavor for everything. Andrew Scambati said, "Oh my God, this episode knocks it out."
Never heard of that guy.
Who's that?
Oh, he's a guy who impersonates Peter Criss.
Yes.
This impersonators.
This episode knocks it out of the park. I was literally laughing my ass off when Tim Sullivan did his Ace impressions. My coworkers must think I'm nuts. Great stories in the top 10 episodes for sure. By the way, I still hate Kiss Alive.
You know who that was directed at, don't you?
No, who?
Geez, I wonder why. Just full disclosure. Andrew's a good friend of mine. I love him dearly, and I call him Burger Boy. Next time you talk to him, just ask him what. That's a great story. I tell you what, that's a great story. Ask him. Okay. Ask him why we call him Burger Boy. So
okay, and below that, Dylan Smith writes, "But do you like meatloaf?" So it's like the reason it's people get it. So thank you for all of you that get the bit.
Get the bit, and it just carries on and it lives on. That type of stuff just makes it so fun to do this.
But let's talk about some people that don't get the bit.
Well, so I also wanted to mention that we've got an episode that's going to touch a nerve when all of a sudden a thread is started over at the KISS FAQ. First of all, I want to thank our spies who keep feeding me all of the posts, because I still have not gone back to that site. But it's great having spies out there. And immediately today it was like, oh, it popped up. We must have struck a nerve with people again. And there were a couple comments that were, it was a great show, great episode. But as typically happens, it quickly turned into, well, let's just attack the show and the hosts. And one of them, this is posted by Rock and Roll Over 48, just so you know who you are. Are these three guys still around? I haven't listened to their stuff in over 8 months. Tommy always acts like he's ready to doze off. The chubby guy in the middle looks like he's going to stroke on camera if he doesn't start watching his saturated fats. And Mike acts like he has a mirror behind the camera. Hold on. Oh. Can't get enough of himself. If they ever get back to talking about KISS, maybe I'll tune in again. That was one of his posts.
All we do is talk about KISS. That's all we
first of all, I'm just
about.
like, this is a KISS talk show.
He's going to hate this episode.
Yeah, what's all this stuff?
Yeah, I don't get
it.
Did
I fall into a Journey podcast?
I don't get it. But then he followed it up again, Rock and Roll Over 48, with, now remember, this is a guy who has not listened to us in 8 months.
His words.
I love it when they trip themselves up. He followed this up with a nearly 400-word essay about us. I don't believe I passed judgment on Mark. I remarked that I remarked
he
that
wasn't
the
there
guy,
8 months ago.
Yeah, exactly. How do you know? Who's Mark if you haven't watched in 8 months? I remarked that the guy is in bad shape. Based on his comments and history, has to be in his 50s. And if the guy wants to keep collecting memories, he best be laying off the high-calorie menu unless he wants to become one himself. Who is he as a person? I have no idea. Yet here he is, knowing exactly who you are, how healthy you are, and everything. And I'll take at face value that you know him on a personal level and he's every bit a fine person you indicate him to be. But in saying that, I think he needs to tone down the jabbing he freely does at people he doesn't know. Again, this is coming from somebody on FAQ who's freely jabbing at somebody he doesn't know. Quite ironic if you think about it.
Very much so.
The times I have watched him, he seems to take a demeaning position with other fans and doesn't play well. And that doesn't play well to his likability much. Again, coming from Rock and Roll Over 48 on KISS FAQ, who's attacking the people.
Is this TV Guide?
I guess I should start forwarding them all my IMs of people. Hey, thank you for answering this question. Thank you for doing this. Thank you for
being a man who is 50 myself, I have a low tolerance for this style of show. That's why you haven't watched it in 8 months, but are giving us a 400-word critique on it. I get what Mike does with Three Sides. This is just as beautiful. He uses the KISS business model and essentially controls the narrative by endless self-promotion. Self-promotion. What? Am I telling you to constantly go to my website? Am I constantly telling you to hire me? I don't think so. So I'm not quite sure where self-promotion comes in. He tries to establish his appearance that people are clamoring to either hate him or love him. That's just a fact.
Yeah, you're the destroyer of the KISS harmony.
You are the hate him right there writing this. So, sometime someone quits and he has auditions. What a hoot! Well, somebody quit and people wanted to audition. I'm not quite sure. We had how many did we have, Tommy? We had
over 50 videos
over
and
50
then countless emails.
So I don't know what to say about that. He goes, tell you what, I'm having auditions all next week to see who wants to landscape my backyard. Mark, you're a contractor. Wouldn't that be called a bid?
You could. I mean, if that's an audition. I go on a lot of auditions.
Yeah, exactly. I'm bidding on that contract. That's sort of an audition. It's the same thing. Not really. It's all fluff to sell a perspective, to artificially pump up themselves. Don't get that. At They just use KISS as a front to sell it. What are we selling?
We sold a T-shirt.
Oh, we sold T-shirts that we donated 100% of our profits to somebody suffering from cancer. How evil of us. How self-promoting of us.
Hold on, Mike. You got to stop for a second because this ties in perfectly. And trust me, this was not. Come here. My wife made spaghetti and meatballs.
Oh God!
Awesome.
You're killing us.
Jesus Christ. Well, actually, tell her thank you because she brought it to you.
She brought it to me. Brought it to you.
Yeah, so you don't have to
say hi. Get in front of the camera.
Hi,
Wine.
And it's homemade.
Beautiful. Thank you for doing that because we don't have to listen to 15 minutes.
Mrs. Mark.
Mrs. Mark
goes right to what he was talking about. It's been look. I didn't get a chance to eat lunch.
It looks pretty high carb to me.
Oh my God, this is just all too good. Like our page. Go see us at Twitter. See how many likes we have now. I'm sorry, that's called social marketing, people. It's a marketing device which people either buy into or realize it's all baloney. Bologna. They're just another podcast. We never said we were more than just another podcast. Nothing more, nothing less. I think Mark would be better served to go on another outlet where inciting the fan base is not required protocol. It's not required protocol. The only required protocol on this show is to be honest. That's it.
You know how honest I am? I just sent my spaghetti and meatballs upstairs. I said, I'll eat when I'm done. for the love of the show.
He goes, I think he would flourish on this site's podcast, meaning the KISS FAQ podcast. I enjoy these because there is no pretense to anything more than just a fellow fan sharing their love for KISS. It's kind of what we do.
But you know what? Here's the thing. No, we've said this. Look, I've only been here for whatever, half a year.
It's only that long.
Well, no one here's trying to be another podcast. We don't even
honestly, I don't listen to them. I don't have time.
We just do what we do.
Yeah, this is what we do. We
want you to listen to other stuff. Support the other pod. Great.
Exactly.
He continues, Mike has capitalist pure pursuits.
I know, it's awesome.
Holy crap, I pursue capitalism. That's evil.
So daily.
That's freaking evil of us.
I can't believe that you want to send your daughter to college.
By the way, people, donate. Please donate to us. Give us some money. You can find the donate button on 3sidesofthecoin.com. All fine for his personal goals, but not anything I find alluring when I want to hear a discussion on KISS. But then again, it doesn't matter because you haven't listened in 8 months, Rock and Roll Over 48. Mark has an impressive collection. How does he know if he hasn't watched in over 8 months, Rock and Roll Over 48? It would be cool if he can break away from the entrepreneurs and join an authentic fan base to share it with. How do
What's authentic?
Three Sides is the most authentic fan base you can get. It's people coming here to talk about KISS and see 3 KISS fans talk about KISS.
The whole beauty of this whole thing is he states, I haven't watched in over 8 months, and then he follows up and burns himself. Nobody has to reply back because he just burned himself completely that he lies.
Do you think he's Katy Perry's boyfriend?
Boy, you're digging back there. The funny part, here's something I want to be perfectly, because of the demons of the past that have jumped up. This little comment is just towards that guy. You know what I mean?
It's not towards the entire fan base. That's why I kept saying rock and roll over 48.
Yeah, that is where all this is aimed. Not at Julian or the site. That they're great. They do a great job.
The podcast is great.
Yeah,
it's
fantastic.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's my point. This is just because once again, I don't go to the forums. I don't have time. I got this probably about a half an hour before we started doing the show.
Everybody's worried about your health. We don't want you to have a stroke on the air. Not that it wouldn't be great for ratings.
It would be, wouldn't it?
You know what's enough? Don't call 911.
Look, I'm a big guy, but those who know me well, I play hockey every week. I'm a big, I'm
really Rock and Roll Over 48 does not know you.
Oh, hold on, but I thought he did. He certainly passed judgment on me. I'm in such bad health, that he, like I said, just totally silly. And when I saw I thought it was silly, and then when I started reading what he was implying about, I mean, why are you talking about this is a KISS site. How does that have to do with my freaking health? And why do you care?
Yeah, you haven't watched in 8 months. Why do you care?
If I didn't show up week after week, and I'm like, well, Mark's in the hospital, he's got whatever. Well, okay, then you can go. Jesus Christ, lay off the fucking the double crust fucking pie. I mean, I get it, but that's not what's going on. You know what I mean? Look, it's the trolls like that. People ask me because when I actually had somebody come up to me, a couple people saw me at record shows and stuff. We'll start talking about the show. And inevitably, people ask me about, well, you guys probably shouldn't talk about the people that, say stuff to you. I'm like, no, you don't get it. Put yourself in our shoes.
It's funny. It really is funny to see people say that about us.
It's not an anger thing. It's a funny thing because you get to point out, like Michael just did Laser-like, you haven't watched the show in 8 months. You just told everybody you didn't watch the show in 8 months. You wouldn't know this face or that I had health, if I had a health issue, or if I had a KISS collection, if you haven't watched for 8 months. You would have popped in and went, Jesus Christ, did fucking Mitch let himself go.
Mitch got a wig.
I mean, that's what you would have said.
Oh, God.
Well, that is the quote of the day right there. I love it.
Oh. Guys, it's those comments that go along with the great positive ones that we get plenty of. It's those that just make us laugh. And capitalist pursuits. Holy crap, how terrible of me. You're a fan of a band called KISS led by Gene Simmons.
Yeah. And
capitalist pursuits should be his nickname.
Yeah, and if we're on capital, if we're looking at it that way, we wouldn't be doing this because there's no money.
We sure as hell ain't making money doing this, people.
And just to remind
Tommy
everybody,
and I were just talking about our expenses from going to Vegas last November. Our expenses.
Yes. Well, and the thing is, for me, is to remind some of the people that are newer listeners, when Mike and I started this, we said we would be honest and we would talk about KISS, but we would also talk about the fans.
But apparently we don't talk about KISS. We've been on the air for 122 weeks and we have yet to talk about KISS.
And this show is just clocking under 2 hours now. You must have, if you had a drink every time you heard Vinnie Vincent's name right now, you'd be laying on the floor.
You will hear Vinnie Vincent's name.
Oh, that's right. God damn
it. Follow the script, Mark. Follow the script.
Script. I didn't get a copy.
Anyway, that was just too funny to share. I love it when I know one of our shows is going to get some attention when somebody picks it up and starts commenting on KISS FAQ. And they usually always start with, it's a great show, check it out, great interview, blah, blah, blah. And then it quickly degenerates into Rock and Roll Over 48. And then Julian has to step in and slap them as the admin and going, would you guys just stop trashing people and go back to talking about KISS or the show? It's too funny.
I tell you, I did flip down. I did see that. I thought that was awfully cool of him. And I've said it on the show a bunch of times because we don't know one another, but we have so many mutual friends. Look, I bought all his books. That guy's super knowledgeable. He's a great guy. The site's great.
Julian's a nice guy. Julian's a really nice guy.
Where you get a couple trolls, and it was nice to him to come in and pop the troll. You know what I mean? That was nice. It was good to see. So that was cool.
So anyway, if anybody wants to make donations for Mark's medical expenses, feel free, because colonoscopies are in the future for both of you guys, right?
That's true. Probably in the next 6 weeks when I hit 50. Oh boy.
Mm-hmm.
I've had one. The actual colonoscopy is a breeze. Because you're knocked out.
I'm not having one of them. I'm just having I don't think you have it. Oscopy is like removing something.
No,
right?
no. The colonoscopy is where they stick about a 6-foot long camera.
You.
No, seriously, that's what it is.
Now, were you at the doctor or did you go to a club?
It's when they put a little camera inside you to take pictures and look for things.
Let's roofie him.
You got to pay extra for that.
Yeah.
Thank God they knock you out for all of that.
Oh,
the 24 hours, trust me guys, the 24 hours before that happens, that's the brutal part because you have to drink a bunch of stuff to clean out. You can't eat.
Yep.
And you've got to drink a fluid every 10 minutes that flushes your system so it's completely clean for the camera to go in there. That is a living hell, and my advice to you or anybody, when that time comes, just live in your bathroom for the next 12 hours. Make yourself comfortable because you're not going anywhere.
I just thought it was the exam. I don't want no...
No, you get pictures. I'll give you pictures. It's funny. It's funny because I'm laying on the exam table and they give you like a drip and they're like, start counting back from 100, and they move a monitor in front of you and they're like, okay, we'll put this TV in front of you so if you want you can watch the camera. And I'm like, oh, this seems like it's going to kind of be cool. And the next thing I remember is waking up in a recovery bed going, is it over? And honest to God, having the biggest craving for a cheeseburger. Having not eaten and gone through all that, I was just like, ah. And the nurse goes, what's funny is that's actually what a lot of people do. They wake up craving a burger. She's like, I gotta have a burger.
Why a burger, I wonder?
I don't know. I was just like, I need a juicy cheeseburger. Yeah, you're knocked out for the procedure. So don't worry about that. Have fun, guys.
Great.
Boy, that Slaughter interview is coming up soon, isn't it?
Yeah, so special guest this week. What a lead-in for our special guest this week. It's like playing with a puppet show, right? Special guest this week. Mark Slaughter sits down with us.
Great guy.
Awesome discussion. Just real down-to-earth, real honest. Talks about our favorite topic.
Winnie?
Winnie
Vincent.
Vincent.
He doesn't talk about colonoscopies, so it's all good.
No, but he does talk about dress up.
Yep.
Anyway, keep the play button going. Mark Slaughter, great interview, awesome time, and by all means, stick to the end. We talk about his new solo album as well. It's a great solo album. So let's go, Mark Slaughter. So I want to welcome Mark Slaughter to Three Sides of the Coin. Mark, thanks so much for, I'm assuming you're sitting down because you're on audio. I'm assuming you're sitting down and joining us today.
Actually, I'm the one who walks and talks, so I'm running all over the place. That's how I do things.
And you are in Nashville, correct, or the Nashville area?
Yeah, I'm in the Nashville area. I'm just south of it, and I'm out in the middle of nowhere. I have a farm out here, so in that side of it, our internet is not going to be to where I can actually talk to you guys via video at this point, unless I was going to a Starbucks or McDonald's or something.
No problem. So let's. I think it's fairly obvious to most KISS fans. You've got some KISS connections.
Absolutely.
but let's go further back. Did you grow up as a kid as a KISS fan?
I grew up, absolutely. I mean, from the point of actually doing the powdered sugar in your mouth and blowing it out so it looks like you're blowing out the fire like Gene Simmons. Absolutely. Of course, the Aquanet can adds as a good flamethrower, within the match. So that was another part
Kids,
of it.
Don't try this stuff at home.
Yeah, I mean, this is all the stuff that, look, it was crazy of how we got into that. And, they were basically with all the kids, I think at that time, they were the theatrical band. They were the song of the youth, at least my youth. along with Black Sabbath, Led Zeppelin, and everybody else. Of course, the Beatles. But it's such a crazy ride to actually listen to that stuff, and then to be a part of the history, as we call it.
Exactly. So, what was the first KISS album you ever owned?
Probably I'd say Rock and Roll Over was
Good choice.
That's the one I like, Dr. Love, and that was kind of like the staple learn how to play guitar song, and Ace's solo on that is still one of the coolest things ever, period.
Solo.
What was that, Mark?
His Binky solo.
His Binky solo.
Yeah, it's his Binky solo. Well, you know what? That is the sound of Ace that we all know and love right there,
Yeah, Rock and Roll Over was the album that got me started, and if anybody was to say play an album to expose somebody to KISS, that would be the go-to album all the time for me.
It was the whole rock and roll lifestyle, attitude, and every side of it. I mean, obviously, Bob Ezrin doing the production on all that stuff was on his game with those guys. It was just a really cool unit of how they put it all together.
That's Destroyer. Rock and Roll Over was Eddie Kramer.
Yeah, Destroyer. Yeah, Eddie Kramer. Mm-hmm.
It's cool podcast, Mark. They're going to nail us to the cross.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, as they should. Exactly.
We had a guest on last week that is talking. He was involved in. His name is Tim. He was involved in the production of that movie
Detroit
Rock City, and
right.
Mark had told him that everything and he was very proud of the set being exactly like the Love Gun set, and it was gorgeous and all that, and Mark pointed out that it was the wrong logo, right? And so, which he didn't know, and now there's already people on the FAQ board slamming us because, well, how could he really care about it being like that and he didn't get the logo right? It's like, who's going to know that? So
well, I mean, look, I think that to me, I wouldn't say that I was fanatical in any band that I followed. It was all a part of my music history. It was all a part of what I grew up on and what what you wanted to be, who you wanted to be like, and how they did what they did, and
right.
Obviously KISS was a huge part of it,
What part of the country did you grow up in?
I grew up in Las Vegas, Nevada.
Oh, you did? Okay.
So yeah, and it was Green Acres with lights. Elvis was playing at the Hilton.
Green Acres with lights.
It was different then. I mean, now it's just like it's Las Vegas, which is over 2 million people. I think around that time it was like 50,000. There really wasn't that many people there.
So when Mark, you were growing up.
Go ahead.
Sorry. I was just going to say, when you were growing up, because this is fascinating to me, when you were growing up, did you get a chance to see Sinatra and some of those other performers in Vegas?
No, because it was the whole thing. Even the Rat Pack and all that stuff there was all about smoking, drinking, and cussing, and all that stuff that in those days it was like they didn't want kids around the casinos.
Right,
but as I got older, once I cracked 21, obviously I saw a lot of acts. And my prom night, I saw Bill Cosby of all people, and
cool.
So it was kind of like I grew up around it. Saw Joan Rivers, saw a lot of acts there, and it was just it's just a different time there. And now it's just EDM and restaurant driven and $1 zillion for a room.
Well, that's what I wanted to ask you. Number one, because there was a pretty famous KISS show that they played in, I think, 75. They did two. They played twice in one night or whatever. Mark, did you see them back in the 70s?
I didn't see them in the 70s. My dad, first of all, was a redneck cowboy who was an electrician by trade. He was older, so it wasn't something he was even into that type of music. My mom was younger, and she was, she liked music, but KISS wasn't really her forte. That was more of mine. And it was, I didn't see them. I know that even Zeppelin played the ice skating rink out there, and there is probably at the Rotunda where they played the concert. That's probably where KISS played. Well,
that was going to segue into my next part. My next question is, growing up in Las Vegas with the obviously rich tradition of performers, and I mean, let's face it, you don't get any more legendary than Sinatra, who I was lucky I did see.
Yeah.
But was that part of why you got into show business? I mean, just being out in the...
No, I think that there was honestly a very interesting question, because I think part of what got me into music is that a lot of the teachers were musical. And at that time, obviously, arts were, the government actually would pay for, music teachers and all that. And at that time, I started out playing acoustic guitar and started doing kind of the folky learning chords stuff in 5th grade when I was 11 years old. And then it turned into everything else, Frampton and, Boston and obviously KISS and all the other stuff. So I went from acoustic to electric to sing along with, I would like sing and play guitar. Then I got very serious about guitar, and singing took really it wasn't even something that I was really into. I just kind of did it because, in my bands, nobody really sang. I was like, well, I'll sing, and the next thing you know, which is crazy, that's how it all started with, with Vinnie Vincent. Is basically I put my guitar down, and next thing you know, I'm on tour with Alice Cooper with just a microphone in my hand. But in Las Vegas, we had in my jazz band in junior high school, we had the trumpet player for Glenn Miller's band come in, and he said some wonderful things that have changed me as a musician a lifetime.
And what did he say?
Well, he said to me, we were reading charts at the time, and they were pretty heavy charts at that point. And he said to me, he goes, just jump on it, man. He goes, in jazz, he said, if it's in jazz, don't hold back, commit. If you hit the wrong note, if you meant to hit it, it's right. So it was kind of like this thing of making music without fear, without worrying about, oh, I can't do that, or I can't do that. It just made it to where it opened it all up, kind of like not being scared of a snow slope if you're a skier. She just took that fear away. And that was a life-changing thing for me with what he said.
That's really cool.
So Mark,
yeah,
go ahead, Tommy.
No, I was done.
So you brought up the V word.
Mm-hmm.
How old were you when you were discovered for Vinnie Vincent?
Let's see. It was 1986, and I was born in '64. So there you have it.
Okay.
That's when I toured with Vinnie, is in '86.
So how that was? I mean, you'd been in local bands in Vegas. I know there was a band called Excursion that a lot of people it's like, let's go find Mark's pre Vinnie Vincent pre-Slaughter band. You can find the demos of that and stuff like that. But Vinnie Vincent was that your first professional, if you would consider it, a real successful act that you started with?
I'd say it was the first real successful thing, absolutely. And the first credible on a real record label, as opposed to what I did as a kid, which is, find an independent distributor, go with the Green World Distribution, which actually Motley Crue was using back in those days. That's where my first record was actually distributed on, is the same one.
So, everybody knows the stories from back in the 80s about what was said about how you were brought into the Vinnie Vincent Invasion, because the Robert Fleischman was the first vocalist in the band. But
correct.
What's the reality of what happened? The story is, Mark was this great sounding guy.
So in other words, you want you want the non-Hollywood bullshit version, is what you're saying.
I want the non-record label, this is great for the bio. I don't want that story. I want the real one.
Okay, here's the real story. Here's the real story. I could have been the lead singer for Vinnie Vincent. In 1985, Dana was producing a band called Sin, Rick Fox's Sin.
Yep.
And I got a call from a guy named Todd Cooper, who was the acting manager, which is Jay Cooper's son, the biggest, Streisand's lawyer. Basically, his son was managing the band, and they heard that I sang, and I was literally teaching guitar, and Dana called me at the music store, Vesely Music, where I was working, and said, we're doing backgrounds, we're looking for singers, why don't you come on down, sing some backgrounds so we could hear what you do. And I said, cool. So I hopped in the truck, put my guitar in the stand, weekend was there, drove all the way down to LA. Actually, it was in Burbank. And the craziest part of it is I walk in the studio. It was called Encore. Now, Encore is the studio that Quincy Jones and Michael Jackson would basically hold on to where you could never get into it, because they would basically buy up all the time, because it was one of the most amazing sounding studios you can even imagine. I go in the room, there's Dana with the music cranked louder than I've ever heard it in any studio, with the bottle of Jack Daniels. It was sliding down the board, and every time it was so loud that it would vibrate to the bottom, and every time it would vibrate to the bottom, he'd pop off the cap, take a swig, and then put it back at the top of the board. And I was like, this is fucking cool. I was like, this is so awesome. So I go in the room, I'm singing backgrounds with all people, Tommy Thayer.
Really?
Nice connection.
Yes.
Interesting.
Yes. So I mean, here's some crazy stuff of no matter what. I even said this to Frankie Benelli. No matter what, those of us who do, even if we would have made a left turn, somehow we would have been involved in one aspect or another in the music business as one of the doers, because Kelly Garney, who was the original bass player for Quiet Riot, played with me in Excursion in Las Vegas. After Randy Rhoads left Ozzy Osbourne, which Dana put in Ozzy's band.
Right.
So, I mean, there's no way that you're not going to be connected in this industry one way or another. But
I love
it was
those
crazy.
Types of connections, those little, 6 degrees of separation. It's just amazing how everything is connected in this business.
Yeah,
it is.
It's like the
it
Kevin
is.
Bacon thing.
Mark,
it's just so cool.
Those background vocals stayed on the record then, correct?
They did. And in fact, the opening scream was my scream, and then they used the singer as the next part of it. So
Tommy's
they said
vocals are also on the Vinnie Vincent Invasion.
No, this is on Sin.
This is on the Sin recording.
Just making sure.
This is on the Sin recording. But here's what happened. So everybody's singing. Next thing you know, there's just me standing in a room. Everybody had left the studio, and there's me standing there with a giant water bottle, because I used to just drink out of a giant jug of water. That's what I, always hydrating. And Dana said, sing this for me. And then I'd sing it. And he'd go, try this. And he goes, hold on a second. And he holds the phone up in the air. And he says, sing this. And then I'd sing it. And then Dana was like, this kid would be great. In other words, instead of using Robert.
So he had Vinnie on the phone.
Yes. So I go back, he says, well, you need to come back down here. You're going to have to sing for somebody. And I go, cool. And he never really got into it with me. So I come back the next weekend with Vinnie there. And I sit down with Vinnie. And Vinnie's like, sing this. Sing this. And every time I sing it, he go, well, that's bullshit. And he just immediately started laying into me. That's bullshit. That sounds like shit. And this is this and this and this and this. And I was like, well, fuck it then. I was like, I don't need shit. So I hop in my truck, drive back to Vegas, where I'm still teaching guitar, still doing what I'm doing. And I had a band called Rose Parade. And I was like, you know what? Fuck it, man. I'm just going to play twice as good, be the Dave Meniketti type guy, and, Sammy Hagar type guy. Just go out there and frickin' rock the shit out. And who gives a fuck what this guy says? So then later, I get a call from Strum. I've got this project, and I think that, you'd want to do this. And what it was is Robert didn't want to tour with Vinnie.
Okay.
So then I get the call, and they had a couple other guys that they were looking at as singers, and the record label A&R gentleman.
Do you know who the other guys were that they were considering?
What was the guy who sang for John Norum? What was his name? I forget his name right now. Bjorn or something like that. He couldn't. He said Vinnie Vincent. Dana's like,
Vinnie Vincent.
And Dana's like, for God's sakes, you can't even fucking say the name, your name, or the band's name. What the fuck? You know, why would we use this fucking guy? So anyway, so I get basically Jeff Aldrich was saying that I needed to be the singer. Meanwhile, here's the other side of it. Rudy Sarzo and Tommy Aldrich and Tony McAlpine are basically starting a band called Driver.
Right.
I get a call from Mike Varney. Hey, you should go sing with these guys. And, mind you, here's the wacky part of it. I'm still thinking myself as a guitar player, not a singer, but for some reason, I have fucking everybody calling me up to be a singer. So I'm like, okay, well, fuck it. I'll check it out. So I tell Strum, look, it looks like this, this thing with Rudy and Tommy, looks like that might be a cool thing. So then Vinny says, okay, fine. We'll use the kid, as he called me. So I end up going from being a guitar teacher 1 month later in front of 11,000 people, glammed out of my tree as a singer for Vinnie Vincent Invasion.
So let me back up real quick. So did you audition for Driver? Did you actually?
I didn't audition for it. Mike was saying that you're probably going to be the guy. You just need to go and meet with these guys. But as soon as I mentioned it to Strum, he told Jeff Aldrich, number one, and Vinny, and then they said, fine, we'll use the kid.
So were you definitely more interested then in getting the gig with Vinny, that you didn't even want to go meet with the Driver guys?
Well, I think what it was is, again, let's go back to the kid who's blowing, powdered sugar,
right?
things back to the KISS connection. It's, Rudy's great. Tommy's an amazing drummer. These are two of the top guys that have played with everybody. And, Tony McAlpine doesn't suck either. But it was probably what I knew the record because I had already, heard it. And Dana came out to Vegas, and we went to a studio called RMS. And he basically had a 2-track of the song, and I kind of karaoke sang it so the label would hear what I sounded like singing the songs. And they were like, he sounds like the original guy. What the fuck? Why are you guys even thinking this? And that's when the whole cassette tape thing started. Well, let's just say he's the original guy, and da-da-da-da-da-da, makes it easier, and he was the guy he wanted. But, I don't think Vinny ever really wanted me to be the singer. He was a hard ass on me.
Yeah, it sounds like right from the beginning, he was not the nicest guy. There wasn't a lot of friendship going on right from the beginning.
No, there really wasn't. After we recorded All Systems Go, Vinny was really like, you sang he was like, you sang great on the record. It sounds fucking great. And he loved it. And then, then later it started to turn into, him and Strum not getting along, and, and then it just kind of went from there.
So, you walk into the Vinnie Vincent Invasion, and, all of a sudden it's, that album, that band was being hyped huge. I mean, the promo, not whether it's real or not, it's an 8-album deal, millions of dollars. Chrysalis is behind this with. Oh, I think we just lost Mark.
I heard the howling there. Call dropped. Mark, you back?
I'm just ringing him back. didn't connect. Let me remove from group. Let's do this all over again. Add people.
There you are.
There we go. So let me just pick up where I was.
You said so the Vinnie Vincent Invasion, and then you cut off.
Yeah. So the Vinnie Vincent Invasion was being hyped, promoted. Now I'm not saying this is all real, but this is what was going out through the press was, an 8-album deal, millions of dollars. Chrysalis was big time behind this. It's Vinnie Vincent just leaving KISS. I mean, were you seeing all that going? Holy crap! I really 3 sevens. Ding, ding, ding! I hit the jackpot here.
Yeah, very well put in my mind frame. Perfect. Got it.
So you were able to sort of look past the attitudes that were being created by Vinnie.
Here's the truth. We had a Alice Cooper tour already lined up. They had a great agent involved. There was a lot of great stuff happening there, and it's one of those things that look, it's part of this whole industry. It's the music business, not the music fun. Right. So you go out there and you do the best that you can do with whatever you've been given. And again, I think that, that was a complete different learning time for me because I was, basically early 20s, out opening for Alice Cooper and Iron Maiden. Is funny, the band that was playing with Alice Cooper at the time was Kip Winger, Ken Mary, Paul Taylor, all these guys that are, literally parts of other bands later. And in fact, Kip and I see each other back on the KISS tour, after all that.
Right.
With Slaughter, so again, it's always connected. It's always connected. If you're in it and you do it, you're part of it. That's how it works.
It's amazing how many times I saw you play because I saw all those tours.
Oh, did you?
It's funny because I was at, the Alice Cooper show. It was a big deal. That was filmed here in Detroit. And remember how packed Joe Louis was those 2 nights, and that's a big place. And obviously I saw
that was my 4th show as a lead singer.
Remember how crazy the crowd was because they knew where they were being filmed.
Yeah, and it was nuts. It was absolutely nuts. It really was.
Yeah, that was a great show. But I just remember because the vibe in the city, because Alice was back, and obviously he's a hometown boy. It was crazy, and I remember you guys went over really, really well too. That both those shows, I went to those shows. That was just a great time, and
it was. In fact, Mark Weiss, we were talking about that. He came out to that show to photograph it, and he ended up taking one of the pictures of, or one of the pictures at the Chrysler Building. And, think about this. Here we are. I'm 6'1". I've got heels on. My hair's teased up another 3 inches. So I'm like 6 something. I'm totally in the whole KISS mindset. We're walking through the lobby, the Chrysler Building, and everybody's looking at us like, what the hell is that? 4 of us here. And we go take the picture, which is actually, I believe it was a poster that they used that Mark sold. That was one of the first pictures that, one of my first sessions was with Mark Weiss.
Wow, that's cool.
So, what was the thoughts going on as you were walking into this glammed image? I mean, and let's be real. I mean, there's the 80s are not known for some of the greatest fashions. But,
no.
But the Vinnie Vincent Invasion took glam to almost as extreme as you could go. I mean,
no, it really was.
Were you and Dana going, what the hell are we wearing and why are we doing this?
I think it was, Dana was like the whole thing of, this is what's current and da-da-da. Dana was, he was on with that. And Vinny was just like, he loved dress up. So it was all good with him. But in my side of it, I was just like, yeah, whatever you guys want to fucking do, let's do this. I was just glad to be a part of something, And again, I was still trying to figure it out, you know.
Did you see this as anything long term, or was it pretty much in your mind, this is just a stepping stone? I'm going to get what I can, learn what I can, get the connections I can, but I don't think this is going to be a long term band.
Well, I just didn't know if Vinnie would want to tour, and I mean, here we are, you know, basically since '88 is when we left the band. We're talking about '86 at this point, which is almost just 29 years ago. So, you know, the reality was, what was I thinking? I was thinking, well, this is a great stepping stone. This can last. I'll write it as long as I can, and then we'll see where it goes. I mean, it's better to have a story than have no story.
Exactly.
So I was, and again, you know, let's go back to the KISS side of it. Of, you know, this is the biggest band in America, you know, or in the world at that point. You know, one of the biggest bands. So it's like, you know, it's pretty cool to at least have the second degree of separation on that, to go, right, this is cool.
Now, did you ever sit down with Vinnie and go, so tell me about Gene, tell me about Paul?
I had met, I mean, here's the funniest part of it. I had met pretty much Vinnie, Eric, and Gene before in Caesar's Palace when they played out there on the Lick It Up tour. Because my dear friend Pat would used to go over and hang out, and, you know, I'd go hang out with Pat. We were buddies. We'd go hang out, and I met him, and you know, Gene was very nice, and at that time he was running around with the Black and Blue guys, which is funny enough because I knew, you know, hey, what's up, Tommy? You know, so it's like here's people that I've already met before. Right. They were there because, you know, he was actually producing their record, the Black and Blue record at that time. Mm-hmm. And they had come up from LA. So, I mean, it's just, you know, again, it's just crazy how it all works together.
But did Vinnie ever sit down? I mean, because obviously Vinnie's departure from KISS wasn't the happiest and smoothest of departures for bands. Did he ever, you know, on a tour bus or anything, just go, you know, let me tell you what was going on, you know, or did you ever really ask him, you know, what really happened?
I kind of did, and he was just kind of like, well, you know, we just see things different, and, you know, it's funny because the first thing when I see Gene, you know, when we were on tour with them and on the Hot and Shade tour, on the Shade tour, I walk in and Gene goes up and walks up to me and he goes, hello, Mark. And I go, good to see you, Gene. He goes, good to see you, Mark. Listen, we are not going to have any discussions about Vinnie Vincent on this whole tour. Promise me we will not talk about Vinnie Vincent at all. You got that? And I'm like, sure, Gene, whatever you say. It's all good. And then 5 minutes later, he says, you know what? One thing about Vinnie that just always, I never, you know, just immediately, you know, it's just, you know, that was Gene. He couldn't figure out, you know, Vinnie was a very hard person to figure out because some of his decision making didn't make any sense. I mean, you know, he, you know, to Gene's eyes or even to my eyes, I mean, it's just kind of like he just never, I don't know if he wanted to be in a touring band. I don't know if that's something he wanted. He didn't want to be part of a band.
So why do you think if that was what you were feeling about him, why did he do the Vinnie Vincent Invasion? Was it just a way to feed an ego?
I think that he had, Vinnie's a great songwriter and he's a very talented guitar player. And I've got slack from saying this, and, you know, people think, oh, you know, why would you say that? Look, let's call it for what it truly is. Even Grover Jackson and I were talking about that not too long ago. I mean, he's one of the most amazing guitar players and can play some of the Jeff Beck stuff, for instance, note for note, just, you know, without even trying. The guys in Iron Maiden heard him playing like that one time, and they're like, Jesus Christ, why don't you play like that? And he goes, because it's boring. And I just thought, you know, wow. I mean, that's you know, because Jeff Beck is like, you know, one of my favorite guitar players in the world. Yeah. I couldn't understand it because I knew this guy was capable of doing it, but he just, you know, again, he's that good.
Yeah,
but
Go ahead, Mark.
Well, I'm sorry, I didn't interrupt.
You know, but he just didn't. He wasn't looking at it that way. It was kind of like, I can play faster than the next guy.
But so what? You know, I mean, from my perspective, I liked Slaughter. I thought you guys were great, and I saw you a bunch of times on the KISS tour, and I think a couple of times when you were headlining. I never saw the Vinnie Vincent Invasion, and it's well documented that I'm not a big fan of Vinnie Vincent. And my issue isn't whether he's talented or not. I would always say he's a great guitar player and is really good at writing songs, but from someone who's a non-musician, I just want to hear a good song, and
and that's exactly where we did it with Slaughter. That's where, if anything, that's really what here's the bottom line. AC/DC is phenomenal, but it's not just about Angus Young's guitar solos, because the songs make you want to have a good time party, either, raise your beer, grab something, fuck something, whatever. It's all good, and that's what rock and roll is. And for some reason, with that, it became Vinnie would open the show with the guitar solo.
Yeah, it's like a buzzsaw. And it's just like, really? Yeah. I just want to hear songs with melody, like you said, that make you react to what they are. And that was always my issue.
Did anybody, whether within the band or the record label or management, ever sit down with Vinnie and say, Vinnie, what you want to do here, these are bad decisions, they're not going over well. Or was it so much of Vinnie's attitude was, it's my way or the highway. This is my band.
It was my way, or, fuck you guys. You don't know what I'm trying to do as an artist, and I don't need your fucking label.
Okay.
Hey, Mark,
again, the part of the whole thing, and, there's been a lot of people who say, well, how did you end up with the record deal? And did you have Vinnie's record deal? Vinnie's record deal was a substandard deal. Let's call it for what it is. It's a substandard deal that Dana had made with Chrysalis, and basically got him in the door, got the songs going, made it happen. And the end of the day, what really happened was when Vinnie basically said, I'm going to go on. I don't need Dana. Do you want to be in the gutter with him or go with me? I said, I'd rather be in the gutter with Dana. At that time, it was anybody who was signed on... There's anybody who was in Chrysalis Records who was under an artist like Billy Idol. Steve Stevens left Billy Idol, and Jeff Aldrich, who's the A&R, he basically said, everybody who's somebody who I think that has potential signing a leaving member agreement, that's what's going to happen. And that's what we did. So when I came back, basically, when we were on tour, doing all this stuff, basically they dropped Vinnie and gave me his record deal.
Now, Mark, is it true that at the very end of Vinnie Vincent's your time in his band, that you were going to be the focal point? That I read somewhere that management, basically you were going to be the mouthpiece. This is when you were still in Vinnie, to do all the interviews and stuff, and that Vinnie was no longer, like, the record company didn't want Vinnie doing any press. It was all focused on you. Is that true?
That is true. And a big part of that was there were some radio stations that were set up, and it was Vinnie and I that went there, and had a bunch of stairs to go up to the radio station, and Vinnie's like, I'm not going up those stairs. And I said, well, why not? He goes, I'm just not going up those stairs. Fuck it. They can get me in an elevator, and I'm not going up those stairs. And I'm like, fuck it. So I literally went up the stairs, conducted the whole interview. And of course, the whole radio staff of the record label sees that I'm willing to do what it takes to promote, even if it wasn't my own band, to go out and promote and do what you're supposed to do. Sorry about that.
That's okay.
Got a call. That's okay. So basically they knew that I'd go promote it. So they were like, well, this kid gets it. He sings good, and he's a nice kid, and he's easy to get along with. Let's just turn our focus on him. So basically, Vinnie had told the record label to fuck off, and they were just like, well, we'll see it through. Nightmare on Elm Street had just been finished. And they literally put on I'll never forget this. It was in Sacramento. Dana and I were sitting at the bar inside the venue that we were playing that night with Vinnie Vincent, and the video came on MTV literally as the band was days away from breaking up, and it said Vinnie Vincent Invasion featuring Mark Slaughter.
That was my next question. I heard about that.
So I'm sitting there, and I looked at Dana and I said, well, we know what's going to happen in the option side of it, don't we? And Dana goes, if we have the songs. And I said, oh, shit, we could write the songs. And he's like, absolutely. So we knew from what we did with Vinnie, and we knew what our songwriting capabilities were, and we knew what we could do. And inevitably, we recorded 4 songs in 1988 going into 89 for the record label. That's part of the stipulations of a leaving member agreement, to record 4 songs so the record label could assess if they're going to pick up the option or not. They picked up my option. Bada boom, there it goes.
Let me back up, because you mentioned something that, did Dana Strum get the deal for the Vinnie Vincent Invasion? Was it basically he put it together?
He went in with, I think it was with George Suet as acting manager, and they went into Chrysalis and had a meeting about the songs that were recorded, which was the Hirsch Gardner, that stuff, which later came back to sue Vinnie because he basically just, didn't have him, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So the end result of that is those are the demos which Dana had remixed to get the deal.
So it wasn't really a case of Vinnie leaving KISS and Chrysalis going immediately after Vinnie because they saw Vinnie as this great talent that they had to sign. It was Dana's whole career is, the guy seems like he's very much a mastermind of business. If he's able to recognize talent and put things together, Dana recognized an opportunity and put this together. Right.
He did. And he really didn't. What the funny part of it is Dana wasn't a person just to follow KISS. He was just like, this is something that's credible. I know that this guy obviously played with it. This looks like it would work. He didn't know, what Vinnie had to do with that or not. All he knew is this is something that could work. And, that's what he was doing as a producer at that time.
So while you're in Vinnie Vincent Invasion, was there, when did you first really start getting the signs of, wow, this guy has should I be this guy's crazy?
Well, I think that from the moment I started, when he told me, when I get basically an audition side of it, and he's telling me I sound like garbage, that's first. That's when I kind of thought, well, this guy's not there. And then I wound up being a singer later. So that right there is an oxymoron. But he had a vision of how he wanted to do things. I think Robert Fleischman did a great job on the first record, and he wanted somebody to do things a certain way, and that's how he wanted it to be done. And I went in, and I think I was the only capable guy that they could find to go and do that on a nightly basis and not be burned.
That has to be frustrating, though, just from a musician standpoint. If you're in a situation where you've got someone who's commanding things a certain way, and you may not believe it's the best way to go.
Let me tell you the story of what the one thing that he did say, that Vinnie said. And again, life is a bunch of lessons, and they're the things of how you carry yourself, how you work through it, and not become emotional baggage later. Okay. We were in let's see, at this time it was in Philadelphia, and we were just about to go on stage. The intro tape was going, all the stuff's happening. We're just about to step on stage, and Vinnie leans over to me and says, Mark? And I go, yeah. And he goes, you really sounded like garbage last night. And if you don't pull it together, you're not singing on the record. And walked on the stage. So there's 2 different ways that you can do it. Either you're going to go, I don't need this shit, fuck this guy? Or are you going to go, you know what? I'm going to go out and fucking kill tonight and take it to the next step to where I become a better musician, a better frontman, better at the craft of what I do. And that's what I always did and still do to this day, which is gloves are off when I get on stage, motherfucker. That's how I take it.
Wow.
Interesting. Well, I mean, yeah,
so,
but, you know, that you think that would just undermine everything. It's one thing to have the discussion, but it's another thing to dump that on you right before you walk on stage.
Now, here's a question, and then again, I don't know because it's not my relationship with KISS. Is this how he was treated with KISS? Is this, again, is this how he felt that he needed to treat me for as he was treated in KISS? Did Gene and Paul say that to him? I don't know. That's not something that I know how their relationships were.
I don't know if I would agree one way or another with that. I don't know anything about that part of it, but it just seems to me that some people are just the way they are.
Yeah, and I don't know where he got that type of that attitude. I don't know where he got that from. I don't know if it was something he learned through the years in the business he was in, or if it's just part of his personality. But, to me, it made me more of a fighter than, again, you can wimp out or you can become more of a fighter. Well, I just became more of a fighter.
Right.
Well, it's funny because what Mark was saying, I keep thinking about Vinnie did nothing after the Invasion broke. He never toured again. He never, tried to get a group together again and tour. You know what I mean?
He recorded a record, from what I understand, from an executive from over at Enigma Records, which is a small label. Yeah, he recorded a record, and after he had recorded the record, he basically, it was finished, it was done, and he listened to it as it was pretty much mixed and done, and he said, you know what, this is shit, and he recorded over everything.
Yeah, but you know what, I guess my point was, because you said something earlier in the conversation I thought was pretty fascinating, because at the end of the Vinnie Vincent Invasion, it was Vinnie Vincent, featuring Mark Slaughter. Or he was really being pushed to the background. I mean, partially because he's of his own making. He's just being an idiot.
Well, partially the part of it, his social skills on that side of it. I mean, how many times has he sued KISS since he left?
Correct, but that's my
15.
point. It's like he picked an odd career choice at this point because he put a band together and then he keeps, doing everything he can to sabotage it. You know what I mean?
And again, we've all known some people in our lives that will shoot themselves in the foot once success is coming. And I think that, I think that, as things are starting to go, it became like, who's wrong? What's wrong with this picture? Instead of what's right with this picture.
Right. Based on what you know about Vinnie and his personality and his habits and everything, why don't you think he ever did anything post-invasion? Is it because he literally burned so many bridges nobody wants to work with him, or do you think he just doesn't have the drive to do it?
I think he thinks that everybody's trying to rip him off. I think he thinks that everybody's trying to take something away. And I think that part of that, is him just thinking that the world's against him. Instead of like saying, okay, you have a bunch of lemons, you squeeze it, make lemonade. What do you do?
Instead of having the attitude like you said, where I'm going to go out and say screw everybody and I'm just going to blow everybody away.
I'm just going to be the best that I can personally be myself.
Right.
This is, again, it's a thing that I live by. I've even said it in a song on one of our records, which is what you think of me is none of my business. I'm not going to worry what people think, because everybody's going to have an opinion. You have to know who you are and be who you want to be instead of trying to conform to be something else.
Right.
So he's kind of the consummate victim.
Is he that? I think that's how I see it. And again, this just is my opinion.
Right.
Now, the word is he's been residing in the Nashville area. Have you ever encountered him?
I have not seen Vinnie. I have not seen Vinnie since 1988.
Wow.
And again, here's the truth. I don't have any issues with the guy. I mean, I get royalty statements and show the things of how many things are played. It doesn't mean anything. It's pointless. Comparatively to what I did with Slaughter, is minuscule in that side of it. Meaning it was a stepping stone. I love where I came from. I love what I did. I love the people who I met along the way. And again, I do nothing but wish this guy well. I wish he would do, in my opinion, I wish he'd start writing again and start being the talent that I know he has and do, instead of talking about redoing the fucking second record, which nobody gives a shit about.
So before we move on to talk in depth more about Slaughter, there's one more Vinnie Vincent question I have to ask you, because every time Vinnie's a topic on this show, this question is asked, and we would be slammed if I didn't ask you, especially this question.
Okay.
Did Vinnie Vincent save KISS?
Well, this is, did he save KISS?
However, just take that question and however you want to frame it.
Here's how I think that it was. KISS was songs from the very beginning. Going back to what KISS is really, is songs. Vinnie is a songwriter, and he is a good songwriter. Did he save KISS? I think that he's a big part of Lick It Up. But again, his talent was used, and then the things that were not needed were cast aside. That's how KISS does it. They used what they needed, and they did a great job at making a record. I think that from what I understand, even some of the guitar stuff on there it's not Vinnie.
There you go. That could be.
I got a really quick studio, because you're obviously in the studio with him. There was always that knock that he sped up the tapes for his solos. He never sped up the tapes.
He never. It was punched. It's like when you play guitar solo, it's like and then it would be that part, and then we record another part, and then clip it together and build a solo that way. And Vinnie could play that solo put together all day long. The guy was fucking great at it, period. But it's overdone, it's fast, it's amazing stuff from a guitar player standpoint. Believe me, I'm a guitar player. It's amazing at what he does. But how many guitar players are we talking about? We get back to the songs, we get back to the stuff that it's the music and the songs that make the music that transforms our lives, not the amount of notes we can fit in between.
Hey, Mark, I got it. Oh, go ahead, Tommy. I just had a personal question.
Okay. The question I have, Mark, is do you think that Vinnie Vincent needs a singer in the respect of how, and this is just from my non-musician point of view, it almost seems like Van Halen is amazing because David Lee Roth is that buffer for Eddie Van Halen. Mm-hmm. In the musical sense, did Vinnie need someone like that too?
I think everybody needs frontmen, and that was the reason why I put my guitar in a stand. Okay. Is that there's a difference. I mean, it's just the same. It's the same thing for me. I love playing guitar, but the truth of the matter is it's being a frontman and working a crowd is a totally different element than running around. It takes that. How should I put it? Puts a blanket between you and the audience. Okay. And there's only a few guys that can do it. Paul is one of them who's actually been able to sling it around the back to still have that connection with the audience in that way. Sammy Hagar, same difference. Dave Menichetti, Y&T. I mean, you can name the guys that play consistently, but still maintain being the guitar player. And Vinnie, he could go and make a guitar record. He could go make anything he wanted to do. And I wish he would, because you know what? There's no reason for him not to be making records. Here we are 29 years later, and he hasn't made a record.
But do you feel like part of your job as the frontman lead singer was to try to rein him in? Like you said, they opened up the concert with a guitar solo. Did did you feel like, okay, we got to stick with the songs here and stick with the meat of it and try?
I think that's where Slaughter went, because that's something that Vinnie didn't want to do. Vinnie thought it was all about the guitar playing and the guitar solos or why people were there. He didn't think it was about that.
Hey, Mark, Mark, are you much of an Aerosmith fan?
Love Aerosmith, yeah.
Did you read Joe Perry's book?
I didn't read his book.
Okay,
no, I did
question.
not.
Because growing up, I early in our conversation just now, you were talking about playing guitar and learning the songs and playing acoustic guitar, and I thought that was the magical part of the '70s, is that you had bands like Zeppelin and Harte and even Aerosmith to an extent. They'd have these heavy, harder songs, but they'd also have some really kick-ass acoustic stuff. Harte would be a great example, as would Zeppelin.
Harte's a great band. Love Harte.
Me too. Big Harte fan. Now, moving forward, because you said then you got into the 80s, you said the Cooper gig was your, fourth stadium gig, and now you're super glammed up. And did you feel, because I'm on record, I'm not a big hair metal fan, and that was always one of the things I thought missing from that genre, because, and Joe Perry talks about it in his book, he's like, it was a lot more organic in the 70s. And towards the 80s.
Absolutely.
And that's what I was talking about, just sitting to be a songwriter, because if you boil Vinnie Vincent down, he's a songwriter. I mean,
he's a great, and you know what? And he's a great songwriter. And it's like, people are like, did he save KISS? No, I don't think he's the person who saved KISS, but he was a part of KISS, which preserved KISS. So yes, in a sense, he did save it. That's a double-edged question right there. He did and was a part of the band with those songs that kept the band going. Whether people like that type of that time of KISS or not, it was part of what kept them going and kept the wheels moving. And that's the truth.
Now, Mark, you're in Nashville now, correct?
Correct.
Are you selling, and are you trying to sell songs, or could you know what I mean?
I do music for television, and I do stuff that I can be off the grid and just do what I do. And again, with my solo record that I did, it was more about writing songs, and it's one of those things, you write songs, and a good song is a good song.
Correct.
And whether you're going to sell, 1,000 or you're going to sell, 5 million, it doesn't matter. You write. Really, where I'm at right now with what I'm doing is about making music and being an artist. I think that really what happens is everybody's right now going, well, you don't make any money doing this. You don't make any money doing that. Well, I'm making records. I'm doing music the way I like to do music. Going back to your comment about the 80s, I think that there's a very classic sensibility to this record that I did that is really taking it back all the way to the point to where when you open up the CD cover, which you guys haven't seen yet, it's a 45, looks like a 45 record.
Cool.
So, I mean, it's retro in every aspect of it, but it was because of what I loved as a kid when I opened up that KISS record, and you had the pictures and you had the words and you had the who did this and who did that.
Yeah, that's sadly missing from the music experience for kids growing up now, because just opening up Zeppelin 2 and seeing the big artwork on it, and just having that tangible thing in your hand just made such a difference. You felt
it does, and I think it's missing in that side of it. And the sad part of it is when I first started putting this thing out, I realized that there's still people who want CDs and want vinyl and want the old school stuff. But the crazy part of it is, you go into a Best Buy, the CD aisle that was there before is now down to 2 aisles.
Right.
And if you go to the computers, there are no CD-ROMs. CD is the new cassette. So now what?
Yeah, well, and I think that
it's changing. And again, it's hard to get the artwork. It becomes digital books and digital information as opposed to hard copies, except for those hardcore fans that will buy it.
Well, and also, don't you think the internet has changed it as far as a visual piece? Because I remember being a kid and opening up Goodbye Yellow Brick Road, and the artwork in that was absolutely incredible, and it had all the song lyrics, just like you were saying. And that's a lost art now that the younger generation just doesn't understand.
Which is why I did my record the way I did it. Is because the lyrics are just as important as the music is.
Well, and it's nice as and it's nice as a listener to know what the lyrics are, and what
you're saying. And I mean, and again, sometimes it's not the hard part. It is for a lot of artists. Look, Slaughter was very different from a lot of the bands in the 80s because we were the only band that wrote, produced, and still perform our music to this day. We were the ones that had total control from the beginning. And that is different than what other people were doing. There was always a producer. There was always engineers and this. It was, man, we were just hands-on. We went into the studio, and the first show we ever played was with KISS. That's the first show we ever played. We never played a club.
So let's talk about Slaughter. Let's put Vinnie Vincent behind. He's wherever he is.
Well, I mean,
today.
look here. That's what we're talking. That's where, I know that's where you guys are coming from on that side of it. And the true side of it and the ending of the Vinnie Vincent scenario here is that we made some records that had a lot of good fun to it. I was glad to be a part of it. It was crazy, some of the antics that we pulled on it. And I look back at it lovingly, as opposed to this was bullshit.
Would you do a Vinnie Vincent Invasion reunion if it was ever presented to you?
Vinnie would never do it. Are you kidding? Like when the Eagles said when hell freezes over, and then they literally released a record when hell freezes over. That was brilliant.
Oh yeah.
But I mean, no, I don't think that that's something that he'd ever want to do. And again, I love the songs. I have a lot of great memories with it all, and it is what it is.
So you've got Slaughter, you've got a record deal. Is that all of a sudden like a breath of fresh air and 1 million pounds have been taken off of your shoulders when you've moved on to that new phase of your career?
Was it lifted? I don't think that there was ever like a burden on that. I look at Vinnie Vincent as a burden. I look at it as
not so much a burden, but you don't have to deal with all of the craziness, the weird decisions, the ego, all of the stuff that went along with the Vinnie Vincent Invasion. That's gone. Now all of a sudden, you and Dana have this band, and it's being done the way you want to do it, and you're not dealing with all of that type of stuff anymore. Was that refreshing?
Oh, absolutely it was. And when we found the other two players in that side of it, that was part of the whole thing, is to find people that we could rub elbows with on the tour bus.
And when you cut your deal with Chris Lendt for Slaughter, did you purposely cut it so it's like, we want total control, we want to write, we want to pick the producers, we want to do all of this ourselves? Was that right in the deal?
That was what we said in the specificity of the agreement to go forward, was that we were going to not have A&R, and we were going to have the control to do that.
Was there any pushback from the label of going, no way, we
not really, because they had already worked with us with Vinnie Vincent and know what we were capable of.
They had trust in you guys.
Yeah, they had total trust in us and knew that we could do it. Because again, with Vinnie Vincent, we would record with Vinnie, then Vinnie would leave at 5:00, and then we would continue recording from that point till 12 midnight, which, he was not even aware of. So, I mean, there's just all these steps of that. They knew what we were capable of.
So you record your first album, and your first show is opening for KISS. I mean,
correct.
What is going through your head where you're like, holy crap, this is the album I've loved to have done. It's the band that I want, and our first show is opening for KISS on Hot in the Shade.
Are you kidding? It was like, I was giggling like a schoolgirl at that point, you know. It was amazing, you know, and it was just the opportunity on that side of it for us was just like, I can't believe we've got this opportunity. I was so elated about it. And, you know, realize we did the show, we played, then Winger played, then KISS played. And then we walked into our dressing room after we did our performance, and our record company president, John Sykes, and as well as the CEO of the company were in the dressing room and handed us our gold records on our first show.
Holy crap. That's great.
So we were like, this is fucking awesome. I mean, what else could we think at that point? I mean, look, there's the other side of it with, you know, like Fly the Angels. We were doing the video. We had already done Up All Night. Eric Carr already had the record. He loved the record, and he was a big part of I think telling the guys, you know, meaning Paul and Gene, about what we were doing. And he loved the record, and he's like, dude, this is going to be a huge record. And we did the Up All Night, started to get some action on MTV, and lo and behold, we start doing the video for Fly the Angels, and then 1 month later we were going to be out on tour with KISS. So we're doing the whole premise of the video. We're looking for a jacket. Well, I'm a big guy. Gene's a big guy. And the wardrobe girl says, I know somebody who's got the jacket you're looking for, but we'll have to give it back to him at the end of the set. And I go, cool. And it was Gene. And Gene let me use his leather jacket, his bomber jacket. He's got that along with everything else that he's got over at his house. That jacket that I wore in that video.
Very cool.
Hey,
that's his, and that again, which was a nice little offering to say, man, we're looking forward to having you guys out. Here's my jacket. I want it back, and we're going to rock this.
Not here's my jacket, keep it. Here's my jacket, but I want it back.
Well, of course, it's Gene Simmons. Listen, Mark, you look really good in the jacket, but I look a lot better, so I need that jacket back. You know. There you go.
It's amazing how people who spend a lot of time close to KISS start to learn the impressions very well. Tim Sullivan did an amazing Ace Frehley impression last week. You're nailing Gene. It's just funny.
Oh, Gene. Well, I can nail. I've got the Gene thing down. Ace is he's his own character, man. He'd be a hard one to cop.
And you're actually the first person I've ever heard really kind of do an impression of Vinnie. I don't recall anybody.
Well, he was very. And Mark, that sounds like garbage. I mean, you know, that's part of how it was with him. You know, he was just real soft spoken, like, you know, today, Pinky, I'm going to take over the world. You know, that type of thing.
Right.
You know,
you sort of want to say, Vinnie, could you speak with some balls at least?
I think again, that's part of a control thing. If you what's that, and you lean in to listen to what somebody's saying, so that they have control of the. You know that. Look, it's funny. It's funny. Look, Vinny's got to make a fucking record. The one topic of this whole fucking thing is he needs to go out and make a record and quit fucking revisiting where he came from and start doing a record, because that's what he should be doing.
Yeah. Instead of selling.
Hey, Mark,
t-shirts.
I wanted to ask you about when you guys were getting going, that promotion you did for the going to stay at a fan's house.
Right.
What was that all about?
We just did, you know what we did? We stayed at a fan's house. We played at garages. I think really what it was is Slaughter was different in the side of, look, you know, KISS has this giant, you know, massive, we're going to bring the explosions. We're going to bring more lights. We're going to be the biggest KISS show that we've ever done. And we're going to have confetti, and we're going to kill you with an incredible show, which they always have done. You know, even during Lick It Up, when I saw that tour, you know, they were always great at what they do. And again, for Slaughter, what we were trying to do is to make it to where, wouldn't it be cool if you were the fan kid to say, I'm going to have Slaughter play in my garage?
That's fantastic.
And I always thought that was a great promotion. And that's what I found my.
You know what? It's what you'd want. That's what you'd want as a kid. I thought, that's cool, man. Why wouldn't you do that?
Oh, totally.
More so than the press side of it. It's fun, man. You know, Dana and I, if we have extra tickets, we would walk around the outside of the venue. Even Bloss and I did it too. We'd walk around and hand people tickets that are waiting in the backstage or the behind the venue that couldn't afford tickets. Here, enjoy the
Mark,
show.
Was that organic, or was that something that the PR machine came up with? Because it seemed organic to me.
That's what we did. I mean, I think what it was when Dana and I would be at the, when Vinnie would do his last solo of the evening with Invasion, Dana and I would be at the front door saying goodbye to people, shaking their hands, saying we had a new project coming later and thanks for coming. And they couldn't believe that he would solo for 25 minutes. And he did. And he could clear a room. And we would go out and say, thanks for coming. Thanks for coming. I think what we learned
like the Walmart greeters at a Vinnie Vincent show.
That's right. That's right. And here's the truth. Here's the truth. It worked because we were the regular guys and still are. Dude, we're the regular guys next door that wrote songs and went out and play it and still perform and do this stuff this many years later. What we realize is not to take ourselves too seriously, not to go too over the top, and just to be what we do, just be who we are. Look, I know I could have done things and look more of like a rock star and stuff, but who fucking cares, man? I am who I am.
People appreciate that, and I think that they see that, and that's what they like, because they gravitate towards you. And it sounds like you're very well grounded. You don't live in LA. You've got your place in Nashville. You said you have acreage. Do you have like horses and
I got 12 acres here. Yeah,
okay.
12 acres. 12 acres here with an acre pond. So I'm out in the middle of nowhere. And you know what? You got to be able to be, humble to have shit on your boots. That's just part of life,
Right. But it sounds like a really healthy attitude.
Well, I think it is, and I enjoy it, and I'm feel healthy, and that side of it, I don't take myself too seriously. In that side, I just make music that I like to make and get it out there to people, who like it.
So let me ask you, Mark, how come you did a Mark Slaughter solo album and didn't do a Slaughter album?
Well, I've got, my guys are out playing shows with Vince Neil as his band. So, they're out doing records with Vince, and I'm sitting out here and, in my world just saying, you know what, I think I'm just going to start writing music. And I'm writing music, and the next thing you know, I have a collection of all the songs, and I'm like, I should just mix this and put it out. I call Michael Wagner, legendary producer. Michael, would you mix this? Sure, man, I'd love to. So, of course, I've got one of the top guys who has over 100 million records under his belt of who he's worked with, who's going to mix my record. Well, I guess I'm just going to throw a record out. I mean, it's not – a lot of people are like, why did you do it? Well, why did Paul Stanley do solo records? Does he need to? No, because he's an artist. And that's
Are you thinking
really,
about? I'm sorry. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Please.
And that's really it. Just being an artist. That's really what it is.
And my comment only comes from, when I hit the play button, the very first song takes me right back to Slaughter. It's just like this sounds and feels just like a classic Slaughter album, and that I guess that's where I was coming from is like. Are Slaughter albums actually more Mark Slaughter?
I don't know. Well, no, Dana and I wrote those records. I mean, it's a combination of the two of us. And he's a talented writer. Dana, look, he's a smart guy, talented writer. I think we both learned a lot out of working with each other over this many years. Look, we're still literally. I called Dana before I did this. Hey, dude, I'm going to be on the phone for an hour and a half or so. So don't call. So, I mean, it's the point is we're friends. First and foremost, we're friends. And when it comes into the music that we wrote, that was stuff that we sat down and wrote in 2.5 weeks. That first record was written in 2.5 weeks. Two of us sitting in the room.
Seems like Mark Slaughter and Dana Strum are the Gene Simmons and Paul Stanley of Slaughter.
Yeah.
I in a lot of ways, we've been called that. And I think that anybody that, if you look at, the Beatles and that side of it, we're different personalities, just the same as Paul was different than John. But again, was a John Lennon song any better or worse than the other songs? They all mattered. It was all part of what made that what it was.
It's funny as I'm thinking about it now. There's similar parallels because Gene and Paul paths crossed, and they have this band Wicked Lester. It wasn't anything that they wanted to do, so they basically left and started KISS. Well, you and Dana paths cross, and then you're in Vinnie Vincent Invasion, and it's not exactly what you guys want, and you kind of leave and start Slaughter, and the success comes post that. But you know, I guess it's really kind of cool that you two guys have been partners all the way along.
And you know what? And we have, and I think that it's not a business. It's not just a business decision. It's a friendship thing. I mean, he was out with Motley with Vince. You know, when Motley was touring, he was out kind of making sure that the day ran good, working with Vince. And did a great job, and still works with Vince now. And it's just a part of who we are. And there's no like jealousy of like, oh, well, you're doing this. Well, I'm doing this. It's just, look, I'm making a record because I want to make a record. And as soon as I'm done with this one, I'm going to make another record, whether it's with Slaughter or my own or whatever, because I really kind of one day just said, you know what? I have to be an artist again. I need to start playing. I need to start doing what I enjoy doing, because that's what I need to do as an artist, whether it sells or fails. I'm loving what I'm doing.
I love hearing that coming from an artist. It makes me puke when I hear an artist who says, the internet has killed all of my creativity and I have no desire to write anymore because I won't sell any albums. And it's just it's bullshit. If you're an artist, you have
It is bullshit.
Yeah.
It is bullshit. I don't understand why people do that. The drummer who played on this was a drummer. He's a friend of mine from high school who I said, dude, do you want to play drums in this thing? He lives in Las Vegas. He did his tracks out there, and we sent each other tracks through the internet. That's fucking groundbreaking. I love that shit. That's what amazing. It's about. It's not about like, you know, oh, you have to do this or you have to do it this way, or people are going to think that that's not cool and you're not attached with the label. Well, look, I don't know of any fucking labels that are left anymore that I would do it with in the United States, to say this is a label who gets what I do. Right. They're going to go for the pop sensation. They're going to make pop singles. It's all about singles. And guess what? I'm not that type of a pop artist. I'm a rock and roll guy from way back who's influenced by the 70s and forward.
Well, I think it was David Byrne who had written a long op-ed piece about that, like how it's killed his creativity. And I just, you know, and he was condemning bands like KISS because of their marketing. And it's just like, it's a business. You have to look at it that way, and it shouldn't kill your creativity.
It shouldn't. And look, it's to me, it cracks me up when literally there's the next thing. Listen, we have these new things that we're going to start selling that have KISS on it, and all you guys need to go out and buy one. I mean, it's just like, but here's the funniest part of it that people don't understand about Gene. He's the first one to say, I don't have that. He wants every piece of what he's also made for himself to collect.
Right.
Yep.
And if you go in Dana Strum's house, is plastered on what we did. In other words, we're proud of where we came from, and we're not running from it. It's a part of our life that it's a great part of our life and continues to be a great part of our life. Why would we run from it? We're lucky. I'm running off to do a show. I leave Thursday, play Friday, and back Saturday. But we're playing hockey after a hockey game up in Wisconsin. You know, new way of doing it. The hockey game ends. They roll the stage out on the ice, and we go rock. So, you know, it's just different. It's just a different model of how things work. But it's still doing what you love to do. You have to love it and still have passion to be happy in whatever you do.
Well, and there's I was just going to say, there's definitely an audience out there for you. It's just a matter, like you said, of changing the business model. So do you, as an artist, then look at the summer tour stuff of doing those one-offs or the weekends, like in Minnesota and Wisconsin, which I'm sure you probably played these before. They've got Moon Dance Jam and Cadet Fest and Halfway Jam, these different types of big weekend festivals. Is that kind of where things are going now?
Well, it's where it's going. It's also, like you said, the casinos and all that other stuff. It's just a different avenue that we're taking. It's just how it works. It works that way for us. And look, KISS has decades of stuff that went on with them. We were the last wave of what they call the hair bands. And luckily it was a big wave because we're still able to do what we do. But the truth of the matter is that's what we've got. That's what we do. And to be out on a tour bus makes no sense unless a band like KISS puts us on there, which they're not going to.
Well, so then how do you feel about some of the people, your contemporaries, who blame grunge for killing, hair metal, or choose whatever, you want to use with that?
Grunge didn't kill hair metal. It's just the natural progression per decade that things change. This is, we can all point our fingers and say, it was them. It's the Nirvana guys. They're bad people. No, they're not. They made a great record. They had a lot of energy. And you know what? For once, they didn't have a homogenized version of what all the record labels are saying. This is selling. Go write something like what's selling.
Well, I was going to say, don't you think that actually what killed the genre of music in the 80s more than anything was the labels who tried to duplicate everything that was a success? Oh, hey, Poison is a success. Let's put together 4 guys, good looks. Songs aren't important. We'll just get, a rocking song to start with, a ballad to follow it up with, and we'll buy them on a tour, and boom, let's just keep doing. They took away the quality of the music.
Thank you, Michael. I've been saying that forever.
I think that they did. I think that they did, and I think that the truth is the bands who didn't and had no control of that and had outside writers that was not who they were, they're gone.
Right.
And the ones who were legitimate and who were the ones who actually did that are still here and still doing what they do.
They can still perform if they desire to.
And also, it's a point of the honesty of where they came from, which I think that is ultimately the believability. Again, just like what Vinnie would say on that side of it, the believability of what you do and how you go off and really put out your energy to do that.
Right.
And I learned it in Invasion. I learned that in Invasion.
I wish that you had video on this because I just pulled this out of my collection. The guys can. The last show Eric Carr did with KISS. Promo poster.
Wow. Wow. What
KISS,
what a
great Slaughter. Friday, November 9th. Madison Square Garden.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm a big.
Remember it like it was yesterday. And I did see him after that at the Bill and Ted's release. He was at that as well. And, he said to me, he goes, look, I did the radiation and I'm feeling pretty good and I'm moving forward and, everything's good. And, man, I'm just so glad to see you. And, and he seemed great, man. It's so weird with cancer because you just don't know.
Yeah, that was really bad.
And, when we wrote Days Gone By, it was completely a reflection of for Eric, and it was also, equally for Freddie Mercury and that side of it. These are 2 influential people towards our band that we lost that year.
Yeah.
And it was sad. I can truly say Eric was a friend, good friend.
Where, Mark, we've been chatting for over an hour now, and I don't want to keep you on the phone. Where can people go? Where are you online? So to order your new album, to follow what
the new
you're up
album.
to.
Yeah, it's on markslaughter.com, and I'm just going to do things through my website. The Slaughter stuff is slaughterusa.com, and it's equally as important. And the Facebook is Mark Slaughter Official, and Instagram is the same. And that's look, I'm just trying to, I think really where we're all at, man, is just to still remember the things that we know and love, and to continuously keep doing the things we know and love. Keep finding it and keep doing it,
Right.
And I think that the record's a pretty honest record, considering it just came from one source. And
I think, like I said, I think your solo album sounds phenomenal. When I hit play, I'm immediately brought back to just the great music of Slaughter. It's not, I think a lot of people, when their favorite artist goes off and does something solo, you're like, oh, what am I going to get? Is it going to be a sharp right turn of some crazy? No, this is, if you love Slaughter, you're going to love Mark Slaughter, the solo release. I mean,
this song,
perfect.
"Carry Me Back Home" is my favorite so far. I really love that one.
Is it? Wow. And you know what? Mm-hmm. That was a very interesting song when Michael was mixing it, because he called me up. I was out doing a show with the band, and he says to me, he goes, "Mark," he goes, "there's no guitar tracks." And I go, "Yeah, there's guitar tracks. They're just like kind of a George Harrison-y thing." And then he goes, "Well, I found those, but where's the rest of the guitars?" And I said, "The trombones do the same thing."
Yeah.
And he said, "Oh, that's cool." I said, "Yeah, it's in the same frequency. I don't need to double that up." And he goes, "It's so nice to deal with an artist who actually knows what the frequencies are, and I don't have to second guess and mute a bunch of shit." He goes, "This is a lot of fun mixing it."
That's
and
cool.
that was like one of the best compliments I could ever have from that, from Michael.
Yeah, well, I just liked it because it sounds different. It's just, I don't know. I like it. I like it. The stuff you're doing is great.
Well, thanks. It was a lot of love in there, and I just really wanted to have an honest record and have it to where people can, if they like what I did, I think it stays in close enough to where I came from. But I think there's some maturity in some other songs which I haven't gone into before. Some other stuff. So, I'm aging, so it's going to be like a fine wine. It's going to get better. It's going to take a little longer to get there.
Excellent.
Mark, I just want to thank you for joining us and everything you discussed. It was great talking to somebody who worked that close with Vinnie. I've been a big fan of all of your work from Invasion onwards. So this was cool. This was a great honor. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much. Listen, guys, I think we all come from the same side of it, and it's nice to have, I should say, the same passion for the same things. And I'm glad I came from where I came from, and I'm glad that you guys have these discussions. I think it's a healthy thing for our fans to also have their opinions, whether it's good, bad, or bullshit. Right. It is what it is, and that's the great forum that you guys are opening up by what you do.
Vinnie Vincent. That moment, actually, the best moment was trying to not break out in pure hysterics when he said Vinnie liked to dress up. I know. I could see Tommy, you were having a real hard time with that one.
Oh, Lord. Because I'm thinking of Meredith. And all of that entails.
I think we did a pretty good... We could have really taken that comment into the gutter.
Yeah. Next time.
You know what I found really interesting, though, was that Mark and Vinnie both reside in the Nashville area, and Mark has had no contact with Vinnie since 1988.
Yeah.
Not even an actual bumping into him at a Starbucks or at a studio, or because they're both in the music scene. So I guess
I found that odd, especially songwriters
in Nashville. I guess what that's telling me is Vinnie has just really removed himself from the scene and the grid and everything. He's just gone.
I will tell you, there was twice I wanted to ask him. I actually met Mark Slaughter a couple of times But it was funny because I like I said on during the interview, I saw them open when he was in Vinnie Vincent, and I saw him a couple times, and I saw them at Joe Louis. I'd have to check the tour dates, but I met Mark at Harpo's here in Detroit, which is a famed concert theater, and I actually, because my band at the time played there a lot, I knew all the backstage personnel, so I went back there, and as I was walking in after the show, Mark and Dana were walking out. And because I'm a KISS fan, I think I had my Creatures tour book or something with me, and I'm like, hey, where's Vinny? And they were walking out at the same time. Both of them looked at me like, how dare I say Vinnie Vincent? And they both pointed back to the dressing rooms. Now in Harpo's, there was dressing rooms on either side of the backstage area. He must have had his own up at the top, and the other guys had to share the bottom one. And I remember talking to the woman who ran the backstage, whose name was Maureen. She's like, oh, just you don't even want to talk to that guy. He's the biggest at, meaning Vinnie Vincent. He's the biggest at, just, if I were you, Mark, I'd just get the fuck out of here. This guy is a total fucking asshole. And that just struck with me to this, because then I just went home, and I'm like, wow. And then I met him all those years later at the KISS conventions, and I've shared that on the shows how cool he was to me and how nice. And I'm like, but listening to Mark now, I totally get it. He was Jekyll and Hyde. You know what I mean? That was totally fucking bizarre. Because. I've said it many times, because I had 2 private sit-down discussions with Vinnie Vincent. They were both great. Both times he was super nice. But when you contrast that to working with the guy, and wow.
I mean, what about the very first comments Vinnie makes to Mark about his vocals?
Oh, I know.
It's just like, wow, this is going to be a great working relationship, isn't it?
Jesus.
Walking up to him on stage just before going out and telling him your vocals sucked the night before.
And you're not going to be on the record.
Go get him now.
Yeah,
Way to motivate.
Where's the upside to that? I don't get that.
Well, here's why I wanted to know this. I was actually going to interrupt at that point, but he was going, because, like I said, that Harpo's gig was towards the end. I'm pretty sure it was towards the end of the tour. I'd have to check. But maybe that was in that era when the record company was basically forcing Vinnie out of his own band. Maybe he said that to Mark then. We didn't explore that. You know what I mean? Maybe that was like his way of, sticking the knife in a little bit. Because let's face it, he had to have been. Vinnie obviously knew he was being forced out of his own band.
That had to piss him off.
Well, that's my point. So maybe that was a mini power play, or something he thought he could stick the knife in. But because timeline there would have been context. You know what I mean? That certainly wasn't at the beginning. You wouldn't think. That would have probably been more to the end. And one thing he did talk about the Vinnie Vincent's featuring Mark Slaughter. But I'm pretty sure that there was a sticker on the last record, or a sticker on a promotional single, that said that. I seen it somewhere, that it was Vinnie Vincent, featuring Mark Slaughter. Do you have something like that?
I don't know. Well, I've got my singles sitting here, so keep chatting, and I'll see what I've got here for some Vinnie singles that I got from radio.
And that sounds familiar to me. Like I've seen something in print before where it said featuring Mark Slaughter.
There's this one. Doesn't say anything. It's just I think I got one more Vinnie 45 somewhere.
Because I think it was on
I might have some 12 inches as well.
That's what she said.
You guys crack me up.
Come to find out, she's been removing 4 inches of the ruler and just holding
this one. But that doesn't say anything.
I seem to remember it like on a sticker on an album or something, like like an after the fact kind of deal.
I'd have to dig through my 12 inches to see, because I've got both vinyl albums and I think I've got some radio 12 inches.
You know, it's funny. I actually brought, because I was super close with my old record store guy that I used to go to. I brought the second one's All Systems, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I brought that back because I hated it. I thought it was horrible. And to this day, I don't have it. I just have the first one. The first one I like. It's okay. Boy, Klosterman's going to be pissed when he hears this. but
Mark doesn't have a Vinnie Vincent album. I don't have the original KISS crew.
No, like I said, I
sold my book. You sold your album.
Yeah, I sold the one with it's Ashes to Ashes was the single on that one, right?
Yeah, I think so.
I brought that one back. I remember not liking it, and he's like, "You're bringing back something KISS for that?" I'm like, "Dude, just couldn't get into it. Traded it back for something else back in the day." You know what I mean? When you could do stuff like that.
Right.
But I spent so much money there, so he didn't care. He's like, "I'll keep the kid happy." I'd go in there with my paycheck every week and walk out with half my paycheck.
Yeah, you can say this sucks. I want my money back, and they'd give it to you.
Well, I tell you what. You know what? This getting off the Vinnie thing just for a bit. That was the great thing about record stores back in the day. If you were good friends with the people, they'd tip you off to stuff, and you know what I mean. Just they know what you like.
You could buy the album, go home, record it to a cassette tape, and then return the album.
You could, but I couldn't do that.
Yeah.
I wouldn't. That's just, I don't know, I'd feel wrong.
That's pirating.
Unless you just kept returning it because you thought it was broken.
Well, I tell you what,
some people
honestly,
do with Destroyer.
I think
Mark probably doesn't know about that. Was that before you?
I told you that story, Mark, about the first time I played Destroyer when I was a kid.
No, I don't know that one.
This is awesome.
So I'd gotten Rock and Roll Over. I'm in a local record store, I think Third Stone Music, I think, in Valley West. And I want to buy another KISS record, and they've got Destroyer. I'm like, this looks cool. So I bought it. I go home, and I play it. Remember, I'm a kid, so I probably have about 6 albums to my name. I put the needle down, and obviously we all know the intro to Detroit Rock City. And I pick it up, and I put it down again, and I'm honest to God going, what the hell is wrong with this record? There's no music on here. Somebody frickin' recorded their vocals on my album. What is this? What is this talking on my record? Where's the music? And I was this close to taking it back and returning it because the album was defective because it had this talking on it.
Oh, because that's funny.
I mean, you
can't make that up.
I don't know. I'm expecting to hear KISS. I've seen them on Paul Lynde. I'm ready to hear the music, and I'm hearing this frickin' radio station playing on the album. I'm like, what is this? I've got a radio. I don't hear radio on an album. How did somebody record their radio on my record?
Oh my God, that's funny. That's funny.
Stupid kids.
What do you do?
We have time for Spencer's. I didn't do it last week, and I did get.
Especially if you're going to open something rare.
I already opened it. We didn't use it last week. It's actually mine because it's sitting here.
We could have a new feature to replace Spencer's crap. Watch Mark eat dinner.
Yes, or I'll just have. I tell you what. Right now, my house smells like a symphony. If you could picture. What wife made.
This is Mark going to bring down to feed Mark with on this episode.
That's right. I tell you what, my wife's an incredible cook, and this is the result. And you know what I mean.
Have a stroke, man, any moment on the air.
Yeah. I'll be having a stroke eating spaghetti and meatballs, homemade, by the way. Matter of fact, here's how great it is. She made the meatballs last night, and then today they got to soak in the sauce. Look, I'm total paisan. My wife's Italian too, so it works out perfect. You know what I mean? Got the fresh bread upstairs. The house smells incredible.
So you're not just opening up a can of Chef Boyardee.
No, we don't do that here.
SpaghettiOs, man. SpaghettiOs.
But anyways,
that stuff smells like vomit, doesn't it?
Oh, spaghetti. You know what? When as a kid, I loved them. I don't know.
People eat them at the office, and it smells like vomit.
I haven't had it since I was a kid, but we used to get the little can ones. You'd have them at school. I mean, that was. But it's funny, because I grew up, in that whole traditional blue collar Italian. Everything was. I had spaghetti every day of my life. When I first met my wife, it was kind of cool because my mother-in-law used to make stuff other than spaghetti because in my house that's what we had every day. We had some sort of pasta with whatever, and it was cool. That was the first time I ever ate sauerkraut. Was at her house and stuff like what's this stuff? This is good, because her mom was German, but I mean her dad was Italian. Her maiden name was Italian, whole 9 yards. But I mean a very heavy Italian thing over there. Anyways, enough of that. Also too, before I get to my Spencer's thing, status for you two for Indy is looking weak.
For me, it's pretty much going to be a no-go, because the last time I checked, round-trip airfare was going to be $700 for me.
Well, look, you're a capitalist pig like me.
Well, listen, then, hey, guys, donate the money. If I get a donations in the next couple weeks for $700, I'll go.
That seems
My capitalist pursuits are speaking up. I mean, it's just, between airfare, hotel, food, and all that other stuff, it would easily turn into $1,000 trip.
Right.
Yeah. Plus, let's face it, we didn't have much lead-in time, but I'm booked. I'll be there Friday and Saturday night. Stop by if you guys.
Stop by and give Mark CPR and a Heimlich.
Yes. But. But you know what? I've had a bunch of people say, "Hey, I'm going to be there. You're going to be there." I am going to be there. I already booked my rooms, ready to go, man.
I'll make sure to send you what I've got for Three Sides guitar picks, so you can pass out a bunch of picks.
Yeah. Like I said, just come up and say hi and all that kind of stuff. If you're a fan of the show, otherwise, I'll just walking around because I'm just another fan, just like everybody else.
Hey, listen, if you're not a fan of the show, if you hate the show, I still challenge you to come up and speak to Mark.
Oh, I'm the most talkative person, especially when we sit in the hotel. By the way, keep in mind, I've been going to KISS Expos as long as there have been KISS Expos. I would love nothing more than to kind of recreate how those things used to be. And let me tell you, the most fun was always the night before the expo. So I'm hoping, I don't know who the dealers are. I don't know, you know what I mean? I went to those expos from the, late 80s through the early 2000s, and I knew everybody. I mean, knew all the dealers, and and everybody knew everybody, and it was a lot of fun. I haven't been to one of Keith's expos. I think 2011 was the last one I went to. So I don't know what the vibe is anymore. I'm hoping it's still that really, really hard laughing and drinking beer and kicking back at the hotel bar the way it used to be. That's what I mean. If you're a fan of the show and you're going to be there on Friday night, I'm going to be there. You know what? Looking forward to talking to people and having tons of laughs and sharing some stories and like I said, looking forward to meeting everybody. So, anyways, onward to Spencer's Crap. This is a very
cool tour book.
This is the 2003 Japanese only tour book. It's kind of hard to find, and if you look, something happened on this one. It was the first time that it had happened, and I'm sure you can spot. This is a classic KISS photo, but it's different from the lineup on the reverse side. As you can see, Tommy's face was superimposed onto Ace's, and that didn't sit well with a lot of people. But the tour book itself is really, really cool. What I always thought odd about this tour book, though, is that it's mostly
in Japanese.
Imagine that. But it's almost all, if not all. There was no current pictures in it. You know what I mean? It was all classic. I mean, this is. That's about as stuff from 75 and 76. Well, here we go. We got to the little bit of the revenge era. Matter of fact, look familiar? That's the...
What'd you just knock over?
Oh, nothing. A couple videos.
Put the hat on.
No.
Come on, Tommy. Work your magic on him.
Yeah.
Make him put it on.
He's not going to listen to me.
No.
I want him to put the Japanese jacket on that he's got.
Put the Japanese jacket and the hat on.
All right, there we go.
There we go.
What's behind you over by Gene Simmons? What's that say?
Oh, I can't. That's a little surprise. That's an inside joke with.
Wait a second. Are you shilling for the competition here?
Well, a little bit. I was waiting for him to notice. So
what? Now Mark is now Mark is being paid off directly, and it's not going through me first.
Yeah. You wait till Julian. Wait till I get on Julian's payroll.
That's funny.
Next
week, I got my contract option coming up in about 6 months.
Next week, that sign needs to say, "We love you, Rock and Roll Over 48."
There, no doubt.
Thanks for watching this week, Rock and Roll Over 48. We'll see you next week.
You know what? That's the funny part, because like on this show and stuff, our real names and stuff. That's one of the biggest problems I have with the internet in general. You're gonna hide behind shit. You know what I mean?
I agree.
Because if we say something, people because you know what, we sit and we run our mouths. These people don't get, people like the Rock and Roll Over douchebag. They don't get. They don't. You know what I mean? They sit in their anonymity. Why they? You know what I mean? Why they sit and bullshit about other people? Hey man, I got nothing to hide. You want to know what my stats are, what my vitals are? Come and ask. Don't go online and start talking about them. What the fuck's that all about? Just silly.
Next week.
By the way, like I said,
he's going to crucify us next week because we talked about our assholes this episode.
Did I mention that it's spaghetti and meatballs night at the Bikini household?
Well, that'll clean you out, won't it?
Yeah.
Meatloaf last week, spaghetti and meatballs this week. What is it next week?
And that's another thing. The lovely and talented Liz is coming to Indy with me. So any of you,
she cooking?
Well, I tell you what, she could bring her recipes if anybody wants them. She does make a mean meatloaf.
Can she bring some leftover meatloaf in Indianapolis? That could become a three-sides expo tradition of having a meatloaf dinner with three sides of the coin at a KISS expo.
There you go.
Yeah,
there you go. I tell you what, I'm extremely lucky that my wife has been cool with the whole KISS thing from day one. Obviously, look at our freaking house.
She walks down in there and brings you food while you're doing this.
Yeah. Well, happy wife, happy life, and that sort of thing. Matter of fact, we'll be married 24 years in another couple weeks.
She's just sees all the dollar signs on this, knowing when Mark does have that stroke on the air, this is all money in my bank account.
That's why she's keeping me beefed up.
She's trying to murder Mark so she can sell the collection.
It up.
By the way, she did reach out to Tommy and I and say, when Mark is dead, can I come on the show and hold a live auction?
There you go. Oh, my God. Well, look, I'm out.
I think Mark did.
I got spaghetti and meatballs upstairs. I did Spencer's crap.
We
made fun of the Rock and Roll Over guy. Can we go now?
We talked about KISS for 2 minutes.
That's right.
And Michael, did you negotiate us you negotiated us a 30% cut, didn't you, for the auction?
Yeah.
So we're on board.
Yeah, and we just got to keep coming up with shows that stress Mark out.
Yeah.
It looks like he's wrapping up. Okay. Anyway, I mean, Mark's done. He's checking out. Look at this.
He's starting to get. He's starting to get.
I thought all I knocked over was. I thought all I knocked over was videotapes, but I actually knocked over a couple other things too.
All right, guys, this is it. You know where? Oh, homework. Quick homework question. Saxon. Saw them open many times in the 80s. Homework.
Love them.
Sorry.
Would you play dress up with Vinnie Vincent? You guys got anything better? Share your spaghetti and meatball recipes.
No, just what do you got? What did you guys think of us having Mark on? I thought he was a great guest. Really down to earth, nice guy.
He was awesome.
Do you like SpaghettiOs? Does Mark look like he's going to have a stroke?
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Maybe we should have. Yeah, we should probably have. We should do like some kind of like how
Start
they
a
do March
death
Madness
pool.
betting.
Oh, a death pool.
A Deadpool. A Deadpool.
Besides
Yeah.
Deadpool.
Deadpool. Now watch. Someone will.
Someone will. Yeah.
Yeah. I know. That's where. That's a little. I tell you what though. Here's you. Have a death pool, but you have to how they're gonna die, and it can't be. You can't, and you can't say like stroke. It's got to be something. Make something elaborate. Make something funny.
Like he's got a meatball stuck on a fork and spaghetti hanging out of his mouth, and he has a grabber right at that moment. Paint the picture. Face down in the meatloaf.
He choked on someone else's vomit.
Choked on someone else's vomit. We're going too far.
God.
All right, guys.
Yeah, we are.
There's a bunch of stuff. Make up your homework. 3sidesofthecoin.com, Facebook.com.
And make up your own damn homework.
Yeah, exactly. We're tired of being your teachers, telling you what to do.
Yeah.
And send us money. Money. How do I look? Do I look fine? Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
We love your comments. You guys rock. This is a fun show. 3sidesofthecoin.com, Facebook.com/3sidesofthecoin, Spreaker, YouTube, SoundCloud, TuneIn, iTunes,
Smoke signals,
everywhere. You can find us. We're all over the net. You can't help but trip over us on the internet. It's because I promote the hell out of us. All right, guys, that's it. 3 Sides of the Coin. We're done.
Pig.
For interviews and media inquiries, contact Izzy at izzypresleyproductions.com.